She tells you she wants love, but when no one is watching, she searches for something else. Not romance, not tenderness, but the feeling of being overpowered, of losing control. Inside a moment, she can never admit to craving. Freud saw it. The data confirms it. And what you're about to learn, most men will never dare to accept, because hidden behind her smile lies a fantasy too dark to speak, too ancient to erase. This is not a video about blame, it is a revelation, one that will make you question everything you thought you knew about women, about desire, about yourself. Stay till the end, because the deeper we descend into her desire, you will understand why some women chase chaos and why nice men are erased. Not because they were weak, but because they never touched her shadow. Every human being has layers, masks, walls, compromises. Freud was not the only one who saw it. Psychologists like Luft and Ingham developed what is now called the Johari window, a model that says, your personality has 4 parts. What you know and others know about you. What others see but you do not. What you hide but they do not see. And the last one, the one no one knows, not even you. It is this last part, the unconscious darkness, that shapes the most powerful desires and the most shameful fears. Sociologist Irving Goffman went further. He said, we are always performing, we show the world our stage self, but our true self lives backstage, hidden behind the curtains. And no one performs more beautifully than a woman. The smile, the softness, the words are often her greatest act of survival, because the truth is, every woman has a dark side, not metaphorical, but biological, filled with fantasy, shame, fear, taboo cravings, desires she cannot act on, but desperately wants to feel. You may think you know her, but you have only seen her stage presence, her mask, her carefully filtered identity. What you have not seen is what happens when she is alone, when no one is watching, when the internet becomes her confessional booth, and the search bar becomes her most honest diary. What you watch, she types, and the algorithm, without judgment, exposes her unspoken hunger. Not every woman will act on her fantasies, but most fantasize about what they are too ashamed to say out loud. You are about to see what those fantasies are, and how Freud's map of the human psyche explains it all. But first, you must understand one thing. The version of her you know is not who she is. It is who she needs to be to survive in a world that fears a woman's unleashed desire. You believe you know her. You have seen her laugh, heard her words, felt her kindness, but you have only met her performance. The modern woman does not just wear makeup on her face, she wears it on her soul. Psychologist Irving Goffman called it the stage self, the version of a person shaped entirely for the eyes of others. Polished, safe, acceptable. And this version is not a lie. It is a survival mask, crafted to protect her from rejection, judgment, and exposure. But it is only one layer, because behind every public self, there is a backstage self, private, raw, where real thoughts live, where real desires are not filtered through shame. And you fall in love with her performance, you chase her words, you trust the smile, you mistake her social mask for her sexual truth. But Freud would tell you the unconscious is not polite. It does not follow the rules, it only wants what it wants. And the truth is, she is not who she shows you, she is who she hides. When the lights go out, when the screen turns on, when the urge becomes unbearable and no one is watching, that is where her real self appears. Not in conversation, but in impulse. Not in what she says, but in what she searches for. And unless you understand that, you will always be seduced by the surface and blind to the shadow. She was not born ashamed of her desire. She was taught to fear it. From a young age, she was trained to be desirable, but never to desire, to be attractive, but never aroused. Her body matured, but her voice was trained to stay silent. This is not an accident, it is social design, and Freud called it by its name, repression. In Freud's model, every human being carries 3 psychological forces: the ID, raw, impulsive animalistic desire; the superego, the internalized voice of morality and social rules; the ego, the negotiator between what you want and what society allows; And when it comes to a woman's sexual instinct, the superego wins, not because her desire is weak, but because the punishment for expressing it is strong. So what does her mind do? It buries the hunger, it wraps it in politeness, it redirects it through dreams, daydreams, and anonymous clicks. But that energy, it never dies. Repressed desire becomes fantasy, fantasy becomes obsession, and obsession seeks expression. That is why Freud warned, repressed instincts do not vanish. They return masked as symptoms, dreams, slips of the tongue, or desire. So when she tells you she just wants a nice man, understand what is happening. It is not a lie. It is a split between what she consciously believes she wants and what her unconscious craves when no one is watching. Her polite self seeks approval, but her repressed self wants danger, intensity to be taken, claimed, overpowered in a space where she does not have to take responsibility for her craving. That is why so many women are emotionally conflicted, because their biology screams one thing, but society only allows them to whisper the opposite. And until you learn to read this tension, you will listen to her words instead of her shadow. You were respectful, consistent, present. You asked her how she felt. You waited for her comfort. You made sure she felt safe. You thought that was the key, but it was the lock. Because while your heart was honest, your presence was predictable, and for the unconscious mind of a woman, predictability kills tension. She said she wanted a man who listens, a man who shows care. But when you gave her exactly that, her attraction began to fade. Why? Because no woman is drawn to a man she can fully control. And the moment you became fully available, fully compliant, she stopped feeling anything. You became emotionally accessible, but biologically forgettable. This is the law of polarity. Masculine energy creates pressure. Feminine energy needs to feel it. When you remove that pressure, she feels nothing. Freud said, love and hate are not opposites, indifference is, and that is what you became. Safe, predictable, lovable, but forgettable. The nice guy is not punished because he is good. He is punished because he is boring. Because in her unconscious mind, desire is not sparked by peace. It is sparked by tension, by a man she cannot fully possess, by the unknown, the untamed. You gave her stability. He gave her chaos. You opened your heart. He vanished and returned without apology. You planned the future. He pulled her into the moment and disappeared again. And guess what? She chased him. Not because he was better, but because he triggered something ancient, something she could not access with you. Because she felt no edge, no mystery, no power. And that is the most painful part. You did everything right, but you never touched her shadow. You thought you were playing fair, being gentle, being present. But deep in her unconscious, she is dreaming of something else, something she would never confess to you, because she can barely confess it to herself. And yet the data speaks louder than any conversation ever could. According to multiple international studies, 64.6% of women fantasize about being sexually dominated, 31 to 57% fantasize about being forced within fantasy contexts, and over 62% admit to having rape fantasies, not real-world violence, but the fantasy of losing all control, of being taken, owned, overwhelmed. And it does not stop there. In a comprehensive review of over 60 BDSM studies, 96% of women fantasize about BDSM. At least occasionally, 90% derive pleasure from being physically dominated. 59% enjoy humiliation, verbal degradation, name-calling, objectification. Over 50% want to be spanked, slapped, tied down, gagged. Some even crave the illusion of being trained like an animal, crawling, obeying, submitting. No, this is not about abuse. This is about psychology, repression, and release. Freud would not have been surprised. He knew that what we repress becomes what we eroticize. Civilization is built upon the suppression of instincts, he wrote, and it is that suppression that gives birth to the darkest, most arousing fantasies. So when she says, "I just want a good man," it is not a lie. It is a split between the superego that wants approval and the ID that craves surrender. You do not believe it? Then look at the raw, unfiltered truth of the internet. In 2009, researchers analyzed millions of porn searches by women. What they found was not random, it was ritual. Women do not prefer watching porn, they prefer reading it. Why? Because when she reads, she can fill in the details with her own darkness, her own unspoken cravings, her own version of surrender. And what kind of men appear in those fantasies? Not soft men, not sensitive men, but archetypes of chaos and control. The vampire, dangerous but seductive. The werewolf, wild, brutal, untamable. The soldier, commanding, protective, emotionally cold. The pirate, bad boy, unpredictable, dominant. The wizard, manipulative, intellectual, mysterious. The billionaire, powerful, emotionally distant, controlling. What do they all have in common? They are all dominant. They all represent unreachable power. They are men she cannot fully tame, but dreams of conquering emotionally. This is the paradox of the female unconscious. She does not want to feel degraded. She wants to feel dominated with devotion. And that is the part no one teaches you, because it is too raw, too politically incorrect, too emotionally real. But now you know the man who gives her peace will be respected. But the man who touches her chaos will be remembered. She dreams of the powerful man, the one who commands the room without trying, the one whose silence says more than your compliments ever could. She wants him, but she fears him because he cannot be moved. Not by her tears, not by her games, not even by her body. You may think, if that is what she craves, then why does she push him away when she finds him? The answer is deeper than desire. It is fear. You see, her fantasies are safe. In her imagination, she controls the story. She can surrender, but only when she chooses. The danger is thrilling because it is not real. But when a man arrives who actually embodies that power, that grounded masculinity, she begins to panic. Why? Because now her shadow is activated in real life, and what was once exciting in fantasy becomes threatening in the flesh. Freud called this reaction formation. When a person defends themselves against a forbidden desire by expressing the opposite emotion, so she will mock your confidence, she will test your stillness, she will challenge your decisions, not because she hates them, but because deep down they expose her need to submit. And that truth terrifies her. She wants to lose control, but only in the arms of a man she cannot control. So when you show up with unapologetic presence, when you are not swayed by approval, when you do not chase, when you simply are, she feels something ancient rising in her bound, a mix of fear and craving, of resistance and arousal. Because you are not seeking her validation, you are commanding her instincts. And that is what separates the man she respects from the man she forgets. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be felt, to be remembered in the part of her that cannot lie. She says she wants a strong man, but the moment you show strength, she challenges it. She questions your decisions, interrupts your calm, pokes at your boundaries, pulls away just to see what you do. And you think, what does she want? If I'm too soft, she pulls away. If I'm too firm, she pushes back. The answer is in the test. Because a woman who desires to surrender must first know it is safe to do so. And that safety is not emotional softness. It is emotional strength. Her unconscious is asking, can he handle my chaos? Can he hold me without losing himself? Will he collapse the moment I resist? Freud understood this dynamic. He called it the trial of the unconscious, where repressed desires seek proof before revealing themselves. The unconscious is cautious. He wrote, it releases its truth only to those who will not punish it. So when she tests you, she is not always trying to destroy you. She is trying to feel you, because if your confidence cracks, if your tone changes, if your energy folds to please her, she knows you are not ready to lead her. You are trying to win her, not contain her. And that is the death of attraction, because no woman can surrender to a man she feels she has already conquered. So the next time she becomes cold, distant, sarcastic, or explosive, do not react. Observe, breathe, remain unmoved, not because you are indifferent, but because you are sovereign. She is not looking for a servant. She is not looking for a savior. She is looking for a man whose energy does not break when her emotions do, because only then can she relax, can she open, can she fall, not in love but into you. She will never say it, but she has already searched it. You may never see her act out her fantasies, but her browser already knows the story. In public, she plays the role, graceful, polite, controlled. But late at night, when the room is dark and the screen glows soft against her skin, her shadow wakes up. She scrolls, she types, she taps into a version of herself she swore did not exist. And in that space, she is honest, not with you but with the algorithm. The one place that never judges, never interrupts, and never forgets. Her search bar, Freud would say, is more truthful than her mouth, because there she does not filter, she does not perform, she does not fear your opinion. She becomes what she craves. And when researchers analyze millions of anonymous female search histories, they found something terrifyingly consistent. Women do not just consume romance. They fantasize about power, control, dominance, even brutality, as long as it is delivered in the illusion of safety. They read stories of abduction, of surrender, of men too dangerous to trust, but too irresistible to forget. And the men in those stories, they are never the gentle ones. They are monsters with purpose, pirates with passion, vampires with rules, wolves with restraint. These are not accidents, they are archetypes, symbols of everything she is not allowed to ask for, but cannot stop feeling. So while you are busy proving how safe, kind, and emotionally available you are, her unconscious is reliving stories where the man does not ask. He awakens her, not violently, but with presence, power, and unshakable command. She will never say it, but her history already has. You came here to understand her, to decode her mind, to expose her contradictions, to finally get the answers she never gave you. But now the question turns, and it points to you. Because as much as she performs, so do you. You hide your need for control behind respect. You hide your craving for worship behind kindness. You hide your fear of rejection behind loyalty. You do not lead because you are afraid of what it would mean if you failed. You do not dominate because you fear being hated. You have spent your life trying to earn love by becoming less of a man and more of a mirror, just like her. You are playing a role, softening your truth, hiding your shadow. You think she cannot handle your confidence, but the truth is you cannot handle your own. Freud said, "The man who represses his instincts does not become moral, he becomes neurotic." And maybe that is what you have become. Numb, confused, drained, not because you are not enough, but because you stopped being real. So yes, she hides, but so do you. And the moment you stop performing is the moment you will finally see her, not as an enemy, not as a goddess, but as a mirror. Now that you have seen her shadow, you must ask, what kind of man can lead her through it? The answer is not louder, it is calmer. You do not become the monster she dreams of. You become the frame that can hold the storm, the mirror that does not crack when she screams, the hand that does not flinch when she bites. Because real power is not performance, it is presence. Freud believed the ID, our wild desires, could never be destroyed, only sublimated, refined, directed, and that is your path now. To refine your instincts, not erase them. To stop apologizing for wanting to lead, to stop hiding your clarity behind polite hesitation. You must become the man who does not need to ask for permission, but also does not need to control. A man who sets direction, but does not chase outcome. Who speaks little, but says everything with his gaze. Who touches her, not to please her, but to activate something ancient inside her. Because when she feels that you cannot be moved, that you do not fear her chaos, her tests, her fire, that is when her body remembers who you are. You are not her fantasy. You are the one who ends it because you do not perform. You do not beg. You do not bend. You command through stillness, and if she is ready, she follows. Not because she was convinced, but because something older than words told her, this man is safe to surrender to. She will never ask for it directly, because even she does not know what she is truly waiting for. But her body remembers, her breath remembers, her silence remembers. She is not craving perfection, she is craving presence, the kind that does not flinch when she withdraws, the kind that does not chase when she tests, the kind that sees her light but touches her shadow. She has shown you the mask 1,000 times, but now you know where she hides. And the man she dreams of is not the one who tries to impress her, but the one who does not need to. Because when you stop performing, you stop asking. And when you stop asking, she stops pretending. She steps forward, not as a fantasy, not as a reward, but as a woman who finally feels safe to fall, not into love, but into surrender. Because the deepest part of her, the one she hides from every man, can only awaken in the presence of the man who has already tamed his own chaos. So be still, be sharp, be silent, and let your masculinity speak what your mouth never needs to.